Hi everybody and welcome back to Dragonite Creations. If you're new here, my name is Laurel and I love to create. I create all kinds of things, but one of my favorite things is gnomes, and this one is definitely one of my favorite ones I've done. I am so happy to share with you this little gnome in a pie. He is so cute. I just love how he turned out. We already did do one pumpkin pie gnome who was all willing to share. This guy maybe not so much, but he looks so sweet with all his little pumpkin pieces on him. I'm going to show you guys right now how you can make your own gnome in a pie. Okay, we're starting with 2 tinfoil pie pans. Why they're blue in the bottom, I don't know. Anyway, we are just going to cut them down a little bit. I first just took off the rim and then went, no, I want some more. So it's only about 1 inch left of it on the sides, and then turn upside down and put it inside the other one. And then I rolled out some clay on my pasta maker, added a little bake and bond from Sculpey just on the sides here just to help everything seal up. And then I just started wrapping that first pan in polymer clay. Now those edges of the pan are quite sharp, so be careful as you wrap this around the edges. And then I just kind of cut off the extra with scissors. It was easier that way. And then again, I just did the same thing on the other side, rolled out the clay on the pasta maker, and then put a strip on top. So next I am going to just blend those two together so you can't see the seam in between them. You can see that there's some air bubbles and stuff under that. I'm not going to be too worried about them, a little bit with smoothing them out, but we want some of them to stay there because it does make it look more realistic. I did take a rolling pin to it and try to smooth it out a little bit more with a little cornstarch to help it not be quite so sticky. We don't want it exactly perfectly smooth because then it wouldn't look real, but pretty close. I'm trying to decide where my gnome's going to be on there, and once I decide that, I can figure out a little bit better. I did just put this clay on the edge. I did end up having to remove it later though. So now I'm just cutting around where I want my cup to be, or my gnome to be sitting basically. So I'm just going to cut away the clay first of all, and then we're going to cut right through that tinfoil pan. Again, remember these edges of this stuff is pretty sharp. Be careful. I'm going to just tuck it in there gently. So I did just smooth this out so it covered the edges. That way I'm not going to accidentally be cutting myself on them. And then make sure my cup will fit in and out of there. I am going to take that ridge off later, but if it fits with it on, we know it'll fit with our guy's clothes on too. And now I'm just kind of going to build up pieces around the outside that looks like pieces of pie broken away where he is sitting in there. So I just kind of played around with it, trying to make some pie looking pieces coming out. Kind of fold them over a little bit. And then I just took a ball of aluminum foil here and I just kind of tapped around on it just to give it some texture. And now I'm just figuring out where his feet will stick up. And once I figured that out, I'm just going to take a tool here, pop it back out if it pops in, and just kind of smooth it out where the feet will be, just kind of pushing the clay away. And again, just push it away. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take some little bits of clay and build up some mess all around where his feeties will be sticking out. Just play around with it till you think it looks about right. And then I made some just little spare little pieces that we can add later. So this is where I took off that rim around the edge, and now I'm just adding some crust. So this is just, again, some thin polymer clay rolled out that I just added all around the edge. And now I'm putting in my edge pumpkin pieces again. And just fill in wherever you have gaps. We can smooth it out later. And all around the edge there, we don't have to be too picky about anyway because we're going to be adding our whipped cream and it'll cover up all that. And then I just took a fork to the edge of our crust just to, again, make it look more realistic. It's a little harder than actual crust, so you have to push a little harder. And there we go, we're off to bake at 130 degrees for 30 minutes. And now I'm just going to take that little lip off the end of the cup, smooth it out with scissors. And now I'm just going to wrap my cup up in this brown fabric, putting a strip of glue right at the one side here. We're just going to start it there, smoothing out that glue. We don't want any lumps and bumps. This is a thinner fabric. And then the same thing when we get to the end, we're just going to add a little bit of glue and smooth it out, cutting off any excess. And then we're just going to run some glue around the inside and just tack it down, all on the inside of the cup. And for the top, we're going to do the exact same thing. And then I did just glue a styrofoam ball right to the very top, just to help fill it up a little bit. And then I just measured to see how much material I need for his hat. And I did just add about an inch more than what it looks like, just to give yourself room for a seam. And then I just kind of clamped it down because it is slippery, and then cut myself a triangle shape. This is going to be his hat. And now we're going to add some trim to the bottom of his hat. So to do that, we're just going to take this strip and glue it down good side to good side, just right at the very bottom. Flip it over, and then we're going to fold down that trim and just tack it down on the back side of the hat. And then cut away at the end there, glue along the one side, fold it back together, and press it all the way down. And then we can turn it right side out. Poking your finger in there, or anything marker I've used to. Here I am just going to make some trim to go around his hat. So I'm just going to hot glue one side down, fold it in, and then the other so they meet in the middle. And now I'm just going to add this strip. I just wound it around his hat, so I'm just going to glue it at the back. And then tack it down in a couple places up top. We don't want too much on this to hold it too stiff. And then right at the very top again, cutting away the extra. For his hat, this is a 3-inch square cut of faux fur. And we're just going to cut a rounded V, I guess we're making here. And I'm just going to cut that with my knife, just cutting the backing of the material, not the fur itself. And then we're going to run some hot glue along the top of that and add it right to the top of our cup, maybe like about 1/4 inch down. For his arms, I'm using one hair roller, these foam hair rollers, and I'm just cutting right in half the foam itself and then the wire. And then I took off about 1/2 inch of the foam just to expose the extra wire at the top there. And now I'm just going to wrap it in that same fabric we wrapped our cup in, just hot gluing the one side and rolling it up. Finishing it off and cutting away the extra. Glue to finish it and cut away the extra. Now I'm just going to remove that little plastic clip that's on the end and just straighten out our wires. Add a little hot glue so it stays in place so that we've got a little bit of wire sticking out on both ends. And then these are some polymer clay hands that I've made previously, and I'm just going to attach those, adding some E6000 right on the wire, and then poking it into the hole that I've made in my polymer clay hands. And we're just going to push that right on there. Same thing with our other hand. And now I'm just making some trim again, hot gluing one side down and then the other. And then we're just going to wrap that around our guy's little hands here, just to finish off his sleeve. And this helps to hold his hands on as well. And now I'm just going to use a tool here, anything you can find that's pokey, to poke a hole through our cup. And then we're going to poke our little wires right into that cup, adding some hot glue on the ends there. Same thing on the other side, some hot glue and push it right in. Make a spot for his nose. And this is a polymer clay nose again, so again I'm adding some E6000 in the middle, hot glue around the outside, and then just press firmly. Hot glue all around the bottom of his hat that I did also fill with polyfil. And then just push that down. Next I took a styrofoam ball and I cut it in half. And then I just cut off the one end just a little bit to give it a flat end. And then I glued the bottoms of it to this craft foam I have. We're just going to make the tops of Booties is what we're doing right now. And then I just trimmed that away. So we just have a styrofoam ball on craft foam. And then I'm just going to wrap it in this same fabric we made our hat with. Just hot gluing around the bottom there, and then just wrap your fabric around it. Not all the way, we don't want to go around to the flat end, just around the curved part. Cut it away, and then we're just going to run some glue right along the top. Push that back, and then you can glue down your two little tabs just right at the back. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other one. Just tacking it down at the back there. And then we're going to put our little guy in his hole, put our boots where they are meant to be. Our pie is all cooled off now. Putting some little pie pieces in his mini hands. They fit right in there, which is perfect. I did cut one up and make little tinier pieces because I wanted to have like little shrapnel pieces in his beard. And then I took them out again. I hadn't glued them just yet, so I took them out and I just painted this up a more pumpkin-y color. I didn't like the color it was. And then I just went over it with some brown paint, just a dry brush over the crust here part, just to make it look a little more realistic. Helps bring out the texture in the crust as well. And then I did the same thing on the pie, just going over it with a little bit of darker brown here. Okay, so we've glued him in, and I'm just going to add some little shrapnel pieces there in his beard. And put his boots there. I did take this DAP compound in an icing bag mixture. Sorry, my phone died. I just kind of swirled it around like that. You can see you can do whatever you want with this stuff. And I just kind of went all the way around the pie, on his nose, on his beard, on the pie pieces, all the way around his body. Just adding the little DAP compound. And then we're going to glue down his booties. And I'm going to add a couple leaves to finish him off. One right on the front and then one right at the top of his hat. Well, there he is, our little messy eater is all done. He is so sweet. I am really happy with how this guy turned out. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you think of him. I love to hear from you guys and hear your thoughts on things. And thanks so much for joining me. I'm so glad to have you guys all here with me. It means so much to be able to share my crafts with you. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss more crafts. And until next time, love to all.